morning. Today we are going to revise Chapter 2 Human Reproduction lesson. Every organ system in the human body works continuously to maintain the homeostasis for the survival of the individual. For the survival of the individual. Now, what are the various major reproductive events in human being? Gametogenesis, insemination, fertilization, cleavage, and implantation, placentation, gastrulation, organogenesis, and parturition. All these events you must recall. So, human reproduction, which involves, is essential for the survival of the species. This is 2 mark or 3 mark question. Major function of the reproductive system to produce the gametes, whether sperm or ova, to transport these gametes and nurture or nourishing the developing young one or offspring, and to produce the hormones. So first we are going to revise about the male reproductive organs. In the male reproductive system, the major reproductive organs in male are a pair of testes located in the lower abdominal cavity, and this is surrounded by the scrotal sac. And you can see the vas deferens duct, it will arise, and here it opens into urethra. So accessory organs, everything we are going to recall. Now the testis, this is the inner view of the testis. The testis is surrounded by the outer protective covering called tunica albuginea, and the testis is divided into 200 to 250 lobules. Each one is lobule, and by means of in between septa. So inside this each lobule, 2 to 4 highly coiled seminiferous tubules, all these are called seminiferous tubules, are present, and here this site for sperm production, right? And here in between, important cells are there. They are called as made up of 2 types of stratified epithelial, Sertoli cells, and spermatogonic cells or male germ cells. Okay, then Leydig cells also embedded in the connective tissue in the seminiferous tubules. Now here the accessory organs or accessory ducts involved are retate testis. This is a retate testis, vasa efferentia and vasa efferentia, and they form vas deferens. Okay, and here epididymis, this is a storehouse of sperms, and seminiferous tubules. All these seminiferous tubules converge, join together, and they form the network-like structure. Okay, that is called retate testis. And retate testis on the posterior side of the testis, and it opens. The sperms are transported to epididymis and stored and mature here. Okay, and from here, after maturation, it is transported in by means of vas deferens. Okay, and then through the seminal vesicle into the ejaculatory duct. Now accessory glands involved in this, they are seminal pad, seminal vesicle, bulbourethral glands, corpus gland, and single prostate gland, right? I'll show to you the accessory glands of the male. Seminal vesicle, a pair of seminal vesicle, and bulbourethral gland paired, or it's also called as corpus gland, and a single prostate gland. Here you can see this is single prostate gland. So their function, their secretion, we just see the seminal vesicle, they secrete the fluid called seminal plasma, and which contain the fructose, ascorbic acid, prostaglandins, and coagulating enzyme called vesiculase for the movement of the sperm. Bulbourethral gland, this bulbourethral gland, a pair which helps in the lubrication of the penis. Okay, and the prostate gland, I said there is a single surrounding the urethra, and it secretes the slightly acidic fluid called semen, which contains citrate and some other enzymes. So seminal fluid or semen is a milky white fluid, and it contains the sperm and seminal plasma. So the functions of semen, it acts as transport medium, provide nutrients, and contain the chemicals to protect and activate the sperm. Now coming to the female reproductive system. Female reproductive system consists of, what are they? A pair of ovaries. A pair of ovaries. This is the oviduct or fallopian tube, and this is the uterus. Okay, and cervix region, this lower region, and vagina. And these are the major reproductive organs in female. So the female reproductive system is more complex than the male because 2 important functions in female. One is gamete formation, that is the egg or ovum production, and it has to nurture or nourish the developing fetus in the uterus, right? Female reproductive system consists of pair of ovaries. They said a pair of ovaries. This is the oviduct or fallopian tube, and it opens into uterus. Okay, and uterus at the bottom, it consists of cervix and vagina, open outside by external genitalia. All these organs, they support ovulation, fertilization, pregnancy, and childbirth. Ovaries, pair of ovaries, okay, which produce, these are the pair of ovaries which produce the female gamete ovum. They are present in the lower side, each side of the lower abdomen, 2 to 4 centimeter long, and it is surrounded by the outer layer germinal epithelium, outer cortex, and inner medulla. And here you can see the germinal epithelium layer includes ovarian. The cortex region consists of a number of ovarian follicles. So you can see the cortex appears dense granular ovarian follicles of various developmental stage. Primordial follicle, primary follicle, secondary follicle, tertiary follicle. After maturation, the Graafian follicle bursts at the time of 14th day, release the ovum, that is called ovulation, and is developed into corpus luteum and corpus albicans later. Right? Medulla consists of the blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, and nerves. Right? Now coming to the gametogenesis or gamete formation, production of gametes. First one in male, spermatogenesis or mature spermatozoa production. Here the spermatogonia or sperm mother cell, it undergo mitotic division and is mitotic. So same diploid number of primary spermatocytes are produced, and it undergo first meiosis and produce two secondary spermatocytes. And these secondary spermatocytes, due to meiosis, their number diploid is reduced to haploid. For example, here 46 number of chromosomes reduced here into 23 only. And once again, the secondary spermatocyte undergo meiosis too, and they retain the haploid number of chromosomes. And the spermatids, they undergo a maturation process that's called spermiogenesis. So, what is spermiogenesis? The formation of transfer of spermatids into mature spermatozoa is called spermiogenesis. All the same steps it's explained here. And first stage of spermatogenesis, spermatogonia, they migrate into the cytoliths, and it became modified and enlarged to form primary spermatocyte by means of mitotic division. It retained the 46 number of chromosome. Primary spermatocyte undergo first meiotic division, and they produce secondary spermatocyte. And you can see this again undergoes second meiosis and produce spermatids, and spermatids undergoes spermiogenesis and produce mature spermatozoa. And what is the structure of human spermatozoan? Very important diagram you have to practice for your exam, right? It consists of three. It is microscopic, flagellated, motile gamete. So body of the sperm is surrounded by plasma membrane, head region, neck region, and the middle piece and tail. So head consists of two important parts, namely acrosome, muscular, and nucleus. The largest portion is nucleus, and the tip region it consists of acrosome. It is a cap-like structure, acrosome, present at the tip of the nucleus, formed from the Golgi body. It consists of hyaluronidase, proteolytic enzyme. It helps to penetrate the ovum during fertilization. Here the nucleus is oval and flat. And the middle piece, it consists of spirally coiled mitochondria, which provides energy. And the tail, which is helpful for motility of the sperm. Neck, I said very short, present it connects the head and the middle piece. Here the proximal centriole and distal centriole is present. Middle piece consists of mitochondria, and it is arranged in the form of spirally twisted. And this around the axial filament, it's called mitochondrial spiral or nebenkel. And the tail, this mitochondria provide energy and in the form of ATP molecule, and it is followed by tail. Tail is the longest part of the sperm, and the middle it consists of a central axoneme, and lashing movement of the tail, it pushes sperm forward. 60% of the sperms, they have normal shape. 40% must show the vigorous motility. Okay, and for normal fertility, this is an important one more thing. Sperm is the smallest human cell. Ovum is the largest human cell. So once again, oogenesis, same step. Oogonia or primary egg mother cell. Here it's the process of development of the female gamete over ovum or egg in the ovaries. During fetal development, the egg mother cells or oogonia or undergo mitotic division and produce same diploid number of primary oocyte only. And primary oocyte which undergo again surrounded by single layer of granular cells, and this primary follicles undergo first meiosis. Okay, and what happened due to meiosis? It's a reduction division. So diploid number of chromosomes reduced to haploid number of chromosomes. Secondary oocytes are formed. In between, first polar body is also produced. Secondary oocyte once again it divide by second meiosis and produce single mature ovum and second polar body. So in spermatogenesis, four mature spermatozoa are produced, but in oogenesis, only one mature ovum is produced. That is haploid. Both sperm and ovum are haploid in nature. Coming to the structure of ovum, ovum it is a non-cleidoid. It is not surrounded by shell and alecithal egg, and microscopic in nature, and its cytoplasm is called ooplasm. It contains large nucleus, and here the ovum is surrounded by three coverings. First one is vitelline membrane, and middle thick zona pellucida, and the third one is corona radiata. Right, in between the vitelline membrane and zona pellucida, the space is called perivitelline space. Keep in your mind, first inner vitelline membrane, middle thick zona pellucida, outer it is thick coat of follicular cells called corona radiata. Now menstrual cycle which occurs in the female. Menstrual cycle is not, it occurs once in every 28 to 29 days, and during the reproductive life of the female from puberty to menopause, except during the pregnancy, right? And here it includes four important phases we are going to see now. And first one is menstrual phase, follicular phase, ovulatory phase at 14th day, ovum is released. So this occurs ovulation in the 14th day. And the last one is the luteal phase. Menstrual phase, it occurs from 1st to 5th day, follicular phase 5th to 14th day, and ovulation 14th day, and 14 to or 15 to 28 is luteal phase, right? What are the changes occur in the ovary we are going to see. Already I said menstrual cycle, it occurs once in every 28 to 29 days during the reproductive life of the female from menarche or puberty. That is when the attain the maturity to menopause. The menstrual cycle will stop at the menopause except during pregnancy. So what are the cyclic changes occur in the endometrial wall of the uterus for every month? Here I said the four phases: menstrual phase, 1st to 5th day; follicular proliferative phase, 5th to 14th day; ovulatory phase, 14th day; luteal or secretory phase, 15th to 28th day. So the menstrual phase, 1st to 5th day, the blood flow will occur or bleeding will occur due to the rupturing of the endometrial wall of the uterus. So the bleeding will occur, and what happened? There is a decline in the level of progesterone, estrogen. Okay, if the released womb is not fertilized, menstruation occur. Right? It is the absence of menstruation is an indicator of pregnancy, but due to stress and hormonal disorder, also anemic condition, so it may absence of menstruation will occur. So this is the first stage, menstrual phase 1 to 5. Now the second phase, follicular or proliferative phase, it extends from the 5th day to the 14th day. 5th day to 14th day. Here the follicle cells which are present in the cortex of the ovary, they start its development. Primary follicle, secondary follicle, tertiary follicle, mature Graafian follicle. Like this they will develop. For that the two important hormones are needed. Follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, their secretion increase. Right? That's why it's called as follicular phase. Follicle stimulating hormone is increased. It stimulates the follicular development and secretion of estrogen will occur. So from the 5th day to the 14th day before ovulation, it occurs, so it is called follicular phase. Now coming to ovulated phase, release of ovum, it is called ovulation. Right, both the FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, they attain the peak level at the 14th day. So this is referred to as LH surge, LH hormone at the peak, so it's called LH surge. So luteinizing hormone at the peak level. Here also FSH also release, it is at the peak level. So what happened at the time? The rupturing of the mature Graafian follicle and release of ovum at the second oocyte stage, it is called ovulation. Now coming to the luteal phase or secretory phase, after the release of ovum, what happened to the empty Graafian follicle? It is converted into corpus luteum. It is act as an endocrine gland. Transitory endocrine gland is corpus luteum, it secretes large amount of progesterone. So yeah, large amount of progesterone. So if fertilization takes place, it way for implantation of the fertilizer. So if there is no fertilization, what happens? The corpus luteum is degenerated into corpus albicans. Okay, uterine wall, it secretes the nutritious fluid. If there is fertilization will occur. So it's called the secretory phase also. I said if there is absence of fertilization, corpus luteum degenerate and is converted into a scar tissue called corpus albicans, or it's scar tissue. Now what are the fertilization and implantation process? So now the sperms and ovum are produced and they undergo fertilization process. So during fertilization, what will happen? Haploid sperm. This is haploid number of sperm. It combined with haploid number of ovum and they produce diploid zygote. Right? In the process period of fertilization. So the sperm undergo capacitation process by a biochemical event. So it enables the sperm to penetrate and fertilize. So here you can see sperms, more number of sperms, they try to penetrate and enter into the single ovum because single egg organ is produced. So during that time, before a sperm can enter into the egg, it must penetrate the multiple layers of granulosa or follicular cells. Igne பார்த்தோம் என்னென்ன layers சொன்னோம் with a vitelline membrane. Then you can say vitelline membrane that is followed by zona pellucida and corona radiata. All these three layers, protective layers, if there is penetration of a single sperm, they do not allow, they immediately they form fertilization membrane and do not allow the entry of the other sperm. So events of fertilization, the follicular cells, these are the follicular cells. They are held together by means of a cementing, tight close by means of a cementing substance called hyaluronic acid. In the sperm tip acrosome it secretes hyaluronidase enzyme. That hyaluronidase enzyme that helps to penetrate the corona radiata and they try to enter into the zona pellucida. And this is called sperms enter through the corona radiata and zona pellucida is called acrosomal reaction. Right? So these steps, various steps, how the sperm it migrates through the coach, that is in between the follicular cells, it is tightly bounded by hyaluronic acid and hyaluronidase enzyme secreted by acrosome and they penetrate enters into the what is it called? That is zona pellucida and breakdown of the zona pellucida and the enzymes allow the sperm to reach the plasma membrane of the egg. Now the single sperm alone enters into the and reach the plasma membrane of the egg and the sperm head alone along with the nucleus alone enters inside all the other sperms. Then immediately there is a formation of fertilization membrane. Cortical granules they form a barrier called fertilization membrane. What is the reason for this? So this particular sperm it enters, its nucleus is entered inside the ovum. Immediately this green color fertilization membrane is formed as a coat. This do not allow the entry of any other sperm, so it prevents polyspermy. Many sperms are not allowed to enter into a single ovum. So cortical granules from the cytoplasm of the form of barrier is called fertilization membrane around the ovum, which prevent the further penetration of the sperm. Now what happens? Fertilization ovum. Okay, fertilization ovum. So here the sperm it can enter through the female reproductive tract and ovum is released from the ovary by means of ovulation. Fertilization ovum over and the fertilization it releases zygote, single cell zygote fertilized egg. It undergo division. So 2 cell, 4 cell stage, 8 cell stage and they form morula. 16 or more cells called morula stage. Morula stage and slowly it is transferred into blastocyst stage. In the blastocyst stage, it is implanted into the endometrial wall of the uterus. Yeah. First, fertilization takes place in the ampulla region of fertilization, that is fallopian tube or oviduct. விரிஞ்சிருக்க அந்த இடம் தான் ampulla. Here the fertilization takes place. Then fertilized egg or zygote it undergo division. So 2 cell, 4 cell, morula, blastocyst and gets implanted. Implanted என்னப்பா attached to the inner wall of the endometrium of the uterus. So maintenance of pregnancy and embryonic developmental stage. So we must know how the baby is during development, how it is maintained here. So the baby is developing in the uterus. There are important extra embryonic membranes called amnion, chorion, allantois, facelight, small yolk sac. All these are the protective extra-embryonic membrane for the developing phase embryo from desiccation, mechanical shock. So they help in the absorption of nutrients uh, and the exchange of gases. Okay, amnion. I said extra embryonic membranes, amnion, yolk sac, allantois, and chorion. Protective membrane protect the embryo from desiccation and diaphragm, mechanical shock, and help in the absorption of nutrients and exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide gases. So amnion, double layer translucent membrane, immediately surround the baby. It protects the developing embryo from injury. Allantois, a small outpocketing. Allantois, a small outpocketing here of the embryonic tissue at the caudal end of the yolk sac. Okay, caudal na tipped tail end. And next you can see chorion is also, that is the outermost membrane that encloses the embryo, helps in the formation of placenta, very important. And here you can see the chorionic villi, the trophoblast cells in the blastocyst send finger-like projections called chorionic villi, carrying the fetal blood. Okay, chorionic villi and the uterine tissue form the disc-shaped placenta on the topmost region. Placenta is formed in the stage. So what is a placenta? Placenta is a temporary endocrine organ formed during pregnancy. It connects the fetus to the uterine wall through the umbilical cord. It is very important organ of nutritive, respiratory and excretory function. Embryo's heart develops during the 4th week of pregnancy and circulates blood through the umbilical cord and placenta. Placenta acts as an endocrine gland, so it produces human chorionic gonadotropin, human chorionic somatomamotropin, human placental lactogen, estrogen, and progesterone. A hormone called relaxin helps in the relaxation of pelvic ligaments at the time of parturition. So other hormones, estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, prolactin, thyroxine also increase many times. The female uterus is normally about 3 inches in size long, but and 2 inches in width or wide. It can expand 20 times during the time of pregnancy. Now, parturition and lactation. What is parturition? Completion of pregnancy, giving birth to the baby is called parturition. Human pregnancy, it lasts for 280 days to 40 weeks. It's called gestation period. So after that completion of 40 weeks to 80 days, the series of events that expel the baby or infant from the uterus is called labor pain. So throughout the pregnancy period, the uterus undergoes a number of weak and strong contraction. It is not the labor pain. This contraction is called Braxton Hicks contraction. Is a false labor pain. So increase in estrogen concentration, it promotes uterine contraction, right? So at the time of after 40 weeks, what happened? It facilitates the downward movement of the fetus. So at the time, the descent of the fetus வந்து கீழே இறங்குது, head portion. It causes dilation of the cervix of the uterus and vaginal canal. And this is called, very important one, neurohumoral reflex, fetal ejection reflex, and Ferguson reflex. So what is this? This is parturition. The head portion descend down, okay, it can rotate and extend and it will come out. So this expulsion of the baby through the birth canal, it is the sequence of event is called parturition and childbirth. Which hormone is important for the secretion of oxytocin? Lactation. It is a production of milk by mammary gland. And mammary glands show a number of changes during menstrual cycle. For this lactation period, after delivery, human placental lactogen, at the end of the pregnancy, estrogen, progesterone, they secrete, their level will increase. Anterior pituitary secrete the prolactin, that is also involved for lactation. What is colostrum? Very important question. Colostrum, a nutrient-rich fluid produced by the human female immediately after giving birth. That yellow color fluid is called colostrum, and it's a natural antimicrobial agent, stimulate the maturation of infant's immune system, and the mammary glands secrete the yellowish fluid, that is colostrum acid. Immediately, initial few days after parturition, less lactose than milk, almost no fat at all, no protein, rich in vitamin A and minerals, rich in immunoglobulin A antibodies. It is protective to infant's digestive tract against bacterial infection. It is ideal for infant, easily digestible, so fully sufficient till about 6 months of age. And some important evaluation or recap you'll see. So you have to find out the acronyms: follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, human chorionic gonadotropin, human central lactogen, colostrum. Now only we have studied. Recall important book back questions only I gave now you. And the structure of ovum and structure of spermatozoa. Important questions. And spermatogenesis, oogenesis. Flow chart. Both the diagrams you have to practice. And this is coming under menstrual cycle. All the follicular cells and follicular cells how they develop and 5th to 14th day of menstruation and 14th day ovulation will occur. After ovulation, the empty graphene follicle is converted to corpus luteum, corpus albicans. So you have to find out these pictures. This is a book back question already given to you in the study material. Menstrual cycle, gametogenesis, oogenesis, structure of sperm, structure of spermatozoa, and all the book back questions you have to thorough. Okay, yeah, for your quarterly exam. Yes, thank you.